Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Ger Can Get It. This week, we explore the HyperCube.
For like 72 hours. What did I text you? I was born watching this movie. I will die watching this movie. It was
You're not
long.
Wrong.
It was so...
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to sucking face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
I feel like I love Ger's career. I'm a big fan, but he's definitely been in a bunch of things where like I have fallen asleep halfway through and there's still 3/4 of the movie left. Like I don't.
But it was
Time
only
doesn't work
90
the way.
minutes. It wasn't even a long movie. And yet...
I think maybe that was intentional to get you the real experience of having lived through being in a hypercube.
It felt like it. It felt like I was in a... And you know how in some of the rooms, time moved differently?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. As soon as I put the movie on,
It was
time moved
the
differently.
seeming of time passing.
That's how good this movie is. They're like, not only are we going to show you a hypercube, you're going to feel like you're in a hypercube. You will be the hypercube.
I felt like I was trapped in prison. And that I could not escape.
So like, I feel like normally when we do these, I try really hard to do like to make notes and do a summation of the plot. But like for this week, it doesn't fucking matter.
No, there's
it
no
matters
plot.
so little.
There's no plot. What
There
plot?
is no plot. But like I will say, you know what makes me the most angry about this movie is like if this were a play, this would be such a cool play. This would be such an amazing play. You'd be sitting there on the edge of your seat. You'd be like, oh my God, like what's happening? Like backwards and forwards and upside down and like, why are they here? And it would be like No Exit, but with stunts. You'd be like, your mind would be blown.
Yeah.
It would be so great. As a movie, it is the worst thing I've ever seen.
They literally had two sets.
Until next week. They had 1.5 sets. Yeah.
We figured they had two rooms because they definitely do ones where they're in a room and you can see the room behind them. And they're looking into a room, and you can see the room they're looking into.
Identical rooms connected to each other.
Yeah.
By one functional portal.
That's more than I thought they had. Honestly, I figured there was one room and like a bright light.
And I wonder how many times did they have to crawl through that one portal during filming?
Okay, guys, now gravity's the other way. Whoa!
Spoiler alert, or plot twist. Ger actually just went crazy and started going after everyone with a knife. But I have to climb through that fucking portal one more time. Because there's definitely times when he looks really tired trying to climb through it. Like, hang on, guys. I gotta get it.
The emotional strain of making this movie.
They're all done with filming for the day. And there's only the two rooms with one functional portal between, and Ger gets lost.
Well, they couldn't have made the poor people like a wider ladder. Like if they're gonna have to climb up and down this ladder, it's like
that
4
was the
inches
tiniest
wide.
little.
It's supposed to be torture.
It looked like it was actual torture.
I guess. So I looked up, because this is a sequel, air quotes sequel. I looked up the first Cube movie to see if there was like any information that would be helpful from Cube 1 for Cube 2. The answer is fucking no. But it sounds like Cube 1 has some sort of like an underlying plot. Like the people are all prisoners or prison guards, and they're thrown into the cube as some kind of a prison experiment. And there's like a rhyme and reason to how you get between rooms. Like the rooms all have numbers.
It's more of a mundane puzzle.
I mean, that's what they referenced at the beginning. He's like, where are the numbers? The first one had numbers. Yeah.
So like, it sounds like in the first one, there was like a way to win, a way to beat it. This thing is just a go fuck yourself now. This room's going to go fast and that room's going to go slow. And now there's an angry square that's going to float around the room and maybe cut you into pieces and eat you. Like, I don't...
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it'll never show up again. And we never explain that. We don't explain why some rooms are death rooms and some rooms are not death rooms.
No. And it's like there's like some kind of a living thing. Did you get that impression too? That the angry square was a living thing, and sometimes it's kind of like a wind, an angry square wind that comes and eats you. Like I don't like,
and its visual acuity is based on movement. like a T-Rex.
like dinosaurs. Yeah, I don't. Fuck. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, phase 2 complete. And I'm like, okay, is there a phase 3? Spoiler alert, there's not a phase 3. The next
There's
movie
Cube Zero.
which is a prequel. And then I looked up the prequel because I was like, maybe this will explain everything. No, it sounds sort of like Cabin in the Woods, where there's like a company, a corporation doing something unethical and spooky, but you're mostly hanging out with like the drones who work for the company, like the low level guys who like push buttons and stuff. And I was like, does this explain why the company made the cube? And no, it sounds like it's all like related to the first, like the actual prison cube is kind of what Wikipedia told me in the 5 minutes of attention span I had left. And then there's another Cube movie, but it's a Japanese remake of the first one. Like they all just forget that Cube 2 happened. They're like, we don't fucking know either, guys.
The sequel is the Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
In a world of cubes.
Would you not fucking die if you were watching the Minecraft movie with your kids and in the background there was the HyperCube and like Ger trying to get out? Like, mind blowing.
Old Frosty Ger from the very end.
Yes,
Fucking
with the one eye
I thought
out.
he had frostbite. The first time I watched it, I was like, is he cold now? And then I was like, wait, no, he's just very old and
Somehow
blue,
he lived forever in the cube, even though it collapsed in like
He ate
5
a lot
hours.
of peanut butter and Jerry sandwiches.
Okay, so I'm going to try and give like a real quick rundown of sort of this much of the plot as exists, but like they bravo. He turns to cannibalism very quickly.
Yeah, he's like, well, I've tried nothing and nothing else works.
It's been like 30 minutes. I guess I'll eat Jerry. I'll eat Jerry 4 times. He eats 4 Jerry.
So many watches on his
He's
arm.
got more than 4, and then he has all the Becky badges on the inside of his
He
jacket.
turns around and there's like 8 Becky badges pinned to the front of his shirt. I was like, sir, how long should it take? Like, I know that you guys do a lot of math on coming 81 kilo for like how quickly Ger could fly across the ocean and under the ocean and like between London and Toronto.
Ger didn't fly. Nick could fly.
Nick can fly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not Ger, certainly. But like, I feel like it should take you a while to kill and eat and digest and be hungry again after you ate a whole person. He's gone through like 12 people.
Maybe he didn't eat the whole person.
Well, he eats Jerry, and then he's like, "What's that? I hear Jerry. Time to go get another one."
There's a few organs that are easy to remove and eat quickly that are extremely nutrient dense, like liver, kidneys, that kind of stuff.
So you think he's just going for the gold level and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's like skinning and butchering and curing Jerry meat. I think he's just going for the low hanging fruit, if you may.
Jesus Christ!
What are they called? Mountain oysters.
Jesus. I'm gonna have really messed up dreams tonight. I'm gonna call you guys. I'm gonna call you in the middle of the night and be like, "It's your fucking fault. I'm having weird dreams about Ger chowing down on testicles. Congratulations, you get woken up now." Okay, so
no, not Ger. This is Simon.
No,
Simon Grady.
The premise of this podcast is that Ger is Ger in every movie we watch.
No. So my favorite part about this is I'm almost positive that in the Outer Limits episode where his wife's mom has sex and a baby in his bed all in one night, he is Grady.
Oh, his character name is Grady. Yeah.
Yeah, which means, what if they're the same character? What if the trauma of having his wife, of having his wife's mom have an alien baby in his bed, he was like, fuck this, I'm going to become a private investigator. I'm leaving.
That's why he's already so close to the edge.
Right. And as soon as they put him in HyperCube, he was like, not this shit again. No, I'm eating people.
I'm already broken.
I'm hunting the most dangerous game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what? I like that. It makes more sense than literally one goddamn frame of this movie. But okay, I'm gonna try to give like a real quick rundown of like the big points as best as I can do. Like I made notes and I was like, fuck it, why? Why are you making notes? So
they're in a room. They're in a room.
Pretty much. Well, and then like every time a scene ends, there's no like neat transition to the next scene. The movie's just like, I don't know, cut to black, cut to white. Yeah, well, just cut to a color and then go to the next scene. It doesn't fucking matter. Maybe 5 minutes passed, maybe 100 years. You don't need to know. Just whatever. So The movie is called Cube 2 HyperCube. It's from 2002. Ger plays a character called Simon Grady. Shit happens. Okay, so the movie there's
Real quick
7
overview.
or so. Real quick, it's okay. So there's like 7 or so characters. So the main character is a girl named Kate Fillmore, who is played by Carrie Matchett, who played Ger's wife in the season 3 episode. Was it Ghosts of Dead of Night?
Dead of Night. That's
She
what
plays
it is.
Alyssa de Brabant in Dead of Night. Okay, so she played Ger's wife, and like I will say that I think you were the one who told me that it was the same actress, because watching her in this, she looks nothing like, I have face blindness anyways, but like I could not believe she was the same actress. Like even their ages seem different in relation to each other. It's very weird. But she looks a lot nicer in this, which is the best thing I can say about this entire movie, is that whoever like did Carrie Matchett's hair, like it's kind of normal looking. She's not like, she doesn't look as anemic as she did in Forever Night. Like she looked like she was about to die well before Ger bites the shit out of her in his fancy white trunk hose. Anyways, so she's the main character. She's in the HyperCube, and she says that she's a psychotherapist. But then at the end of the movie, we realize that she actually works for the company that created the HyperCube.
Yeah,
and she's
maybe.
in there basically as a spy. But she says that she's a psychotherapist, and so we believe her until about 12 seconds before the end of the movie, at which point it's revealed to be a lie. But like at that point, who gives a shit? Like it's 12 seconds before the end of the movie, and spoiler alert, she then gets shot in the fucking head by her masters. So like,
Yeah.
who cares?
After handing over, quote, the device.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
makes we're gonna
Okay,
2
I'm
seconds we'll
sorry.
get there. So no, you're this. You know, it's fine. This whole episode should be recorded backwards and forwards and upside down, because that just makes it more HyperCube appropriate.
That
frankly,
is
But-
accurate. Yeah.
yeah. So we start out. So we've got the blonde lady. She says she's a psychotherapist. She's not. Then we have Ger show up. He's Simon Grady. He's a private detective. I feel like when he first shows up, he says he's like a consultant or some bullshit, but he turns out he's a private detective.
Yeah. He says he's a consultant.
A management consultant,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
which they
Like, it's what-
immediately call bullshit.
Yes. Yeah, because he's like, oh, I know about torture. And then the other guy's like, you're a management consultant? Are you consulting about torture? And he's like,
I mean,
rules
yeah.
revealed. Like, it's one of those things where, again, like if this were a play and you had some time to sit with these characters and be like, oh, everyone's lying to everyone has secrets, you'd be like, oh, I'm really into this. I'm really intrigued. But like, as it stands in a movie, it's just confusing. You're just like, why? What?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you're lying. I don't know enough to care that you're lying. I just know that you like said something 2 minutes ago that turned out to be a lie 2 minutes later. Like, who
Yeah.
cares?
I mean, right off the bat, he tackles not Alyssa, whatever her
Kate
name
Fillmore is the
Kate,
character.
Kate. He tackles Kate and like holds the knife against her eyeball and is like, blink once for yes, blink two for no.
Which
and
is hard when a knife is against your
asking her
eyeball.
questions. And I was like, God, I would get so mixed up. I'd be like, 1, no, 2. I don't know which one was 1.
Well, I like that he ends up asking her the same questions like multiple times. Did you catch that? He's like, are
Yeah.
you alone? And then 2 seconds later, he's like, are you alone? And I'm like, is this bad editing or is this him like having a freak out? Like,
I
what?
think that an early version of AI wrote the script.
I mean, that makes as much sense as anything.
ChatGPT of the future sent a dialogue for the script to the past
I mean, honestly,
Through a
it makes
HyperCube?
via a HyperCube.
it makes more sense than the 6 or so writers that I think are credited for this movie. 'Cause, like, I don't want any of them to have to share the blame for this. But anyway, so yeah, Ger is a private detective. He had been hired to locate a lady named Becky Young, a young girl named Becky Young, who worked for the company that created the HyperCube. The company is called Izon. So we have Kate Fillmore, who works for Izon as like a spy kind of. We have Simon Grady, who's looking for a lady who worked for Izon. And I don't know that we know what her job was, just that she worked for Izon and
No,
now
we
she's
get,
missing and Ger's looking for her.
We get a picture of her, which is the only thing he gets to keep. The picture of her that's in his knife for some reason. And then later, like close to the very end, we see her and he's like, Becky? And he pulls out her badge and it says Becky and he's like, yes. And he just stabs her in the face. And that's
It makes
the
no sense.
only
It makes no
interaction
fucking
we
sense.
get
Well, he's
with her.
already a broken man.
Oh, okay.
I sure. Let's go for the deep character explanation for the randomness of this movie. So it does feel like, have you ever seen, I know Matt has seen this. You know that thing where you're, where you have like a computer play a video game, like you're watching on YouTube and it's like a robot that plays Pokemon, or it's that thing where like a bunch of people somehow all together. Yeah, that's what this feels like, but as a movie. Like just like a bunch of like computer inputs all got together and we're like, I don't know, left. And like they just kept going, I don't know, left. And that was, they made a whole movie. Yeah.
Plot by committee.
Yeah, plot by committee.
Plot by raw democracy.
Yeah. I do feel like I got raw dogged by the plot of this movie. So that feels accurate. Okay. So we've got the two of them. We've got little Becky Young, who, like I say, like we said, is missing. We end up finding her in like one of the 70 billion rooms. Eventually she pops up for 2 seconds. Ger stabs the shit out of her and will eat her like 8 times. Because this movie doesn't give a shit. This movie hates you for watching it. But so then we've got a character named Alexandra Sasha Trusk, a blind teenager and professional computer hacker. So when we first meet her, she is just a blind girl sitting in the corner of one of the cubes, and we know she's blind because it's 2000 and whatever the fuck I said, and she's wearing sunglasses, and that's how you tell that somebody's blind in a movie.
She's wearing very dark sunglasses indoors. Yeah,
so in the world's brightest set, she must have been the only one who could see anything while filming anything in this movie. Like the walls, I don't know if they're actually like lit up, but like the way that this movie is filmed is the walls look like each panel on the wall is a giant light. Like no wonder Ger is sweating like he ran a race in every
God, he is so sweaty. There's a scene where he has visible droplets all over his forehead.
Yeah, he's damp.
I think my favorite part of this movie is everything is just moving right along sort of linearly. And then we get to the part where we're all talking about our backstories. And all of a sudden we're doing like multiple split screen. Like I'm driving home and then it like splits. And then there's like a picture of a car driving down a road. And she's like, and I was at the hospital. And then it like splits across the bottom. And there's like people at a hospital walking down the hallway at a hospital.
I will say, so when I was watching the movie and I got to that point, in my head, I was like, maybe this is one of those things where you get like a visual clue and like they're telling you. And I like tried to watch that part and I was like, I don't think there's anything hidden there. But then 5 minutes ago when I was like, let me just refresh myself real quick. And I was watching the opening. Do you remember in the opening where there's all the bodies of the people that we will see, and they're all on gurneys, and the gurneys are covered with like a weird plastic sheet.
Yeah.
And the camera kind of like pans kind of quickly across the gurneys. At the first 2 or 3 times I watched this, because I've watched this movie too many goddamn times. The first 2 or 3 times I was just like, okay, like here's the bodies as they're going to be loaded into the HyperCube. Who gives a shit? Like whatever. But when I watched it today, I noticed that there are bodies that are missing. So you see Ger's body, you see Jerry's body, you see Max's body, Julia's body, and Mrs. Paley's body, but you don't see Kate, which makes sense because we know she's the spy, so she doesn't have to be like loaded in on a gurney. I guess she walks in, and you don't see Alex's body or Sasha's body because she wasn't supposed to be there. She like snuck in. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's sort of clever. If anything mattered in this movie, if anything mattered at all, then like
foreshadowing.
Like it's foreshadowing if it gave a shit, but it's just foreshadowing something that doesn't actually matter in the end, and so it's sort of like, okay, like I guess you thought about something for 5 minutes, neat, but like then you never paid anything off and nothing, like you don't care, and then you kill the one character who survives at the end. So like you're telling me even if I did care about this character, like not to, because she won't ever come back. So it's sort of like, okay, like I'm more mad at you being thoughtful in that one instance because of how thoughtless you were throughout the rest of the movie. But okay, so we've got Kate, the not psychotherapist. We've got Ger, the private detective, who will eat the lady he's looking to find. We've got Alex Trusk, the blind girl, whose nickname is Sasha. So when we first meet her, she's Alex. She's just a blind teenager. And then we find out later that she's actually some kind of super genius computer hacker, and that she helped design the HyperCube. And then I guess when she realized the nefarious purposes to which it was being put, she, like, I guess was going to maybe tell people about it, and that's what's in her necklace. And then they're chasing her, so she runs into the HyperCube.
She's going to blow the whistle, but then they were going to kill her.
I don't think that's all that's on the necklace, because he's like, we'll have to go check it and see if anything recorded.
So maybe she recorded what's in the HyperCube. I feel like I'm just so lost. I couldn't even tell she was wearing a necklace this whole time.
Maybe she was wearing a monitoring device as part of the attempt to be a whistleblower.
Would that even work inside a room outside of time and space?
She says they found out she was going to blow the whistle, so she escaped into the HyperCube. So she, an independent computer hacker, mathematics, physical
subcontracted.
genius, was figuring out how to do this, figured it out, realized they were going to use it to hurt people in a way more elaborate way than just, shooting people, and then had to sneak onto this top secret military base where they are housing this HyperCube and sneak into it.
And she's blind.
And she is not only blind, she's like physically incapable of moving about the space around her without Kate guiding her.
I was gonna say she's not blind like Daredevil is blind. She's blind like she became blind yesterday, and this is all new to her, and she can't quite figure it out. And she's like really having the hardest of hard times. Like I feel like most blind people don't just sit in a corner all day long and go, help me. Like she was really like the
But
least...
I have superhero hearing. It's okay.
Yeah, no, she can hear like a bat. No, she can hear like whatever weird ghost inhabits this cube, and she's like, "It's here! It's coming to get us! It's mad! It's angry!" And I'm like, can you hear its emotions? What the fuck is going on? but she's played by Grace Lynn Kung, who was in Slings and Arrows with Ger. So now we have our second of our three?
Yeah,
don't we have three of them in Things with Ger?
Yeah,
the lady in the red dress.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So the next person that we meet, I'm literally just going down the cast list on Wikipedia because it's just easier than going through any of my fucking notes. So we'll meet a guy named Jerry Whitehall. As we said previously, Ger will eat Jerry like 5 times. Jerry was an engineer who worked on the touch panels for the doors. So you're in a cube. Imagine being in a big white cube. So there are 6 surfaces. There's the floor and the ceiling, and then there's 4 walls around you.
Yeah.
So each surface has a little black box in the middle, and if you put your hand on it, it goes swoosh, and it opens up. It's a little touch panel. So he designed that somehow, and he knows a little bit about quantum physics, and he has a nice watch, which it only matters because every time Ger eats him, Ger takes his watch. So at the end of the movie, Ger has a whole sleeve full of fucking nice watches.
It does matter briefly at the beginning of the movie because he's using it to write numbers.
He's using the watch to write numbers?
Yeah.
His
watch
using the watch
makes marks on the middle walls.
Yeah, but then someone ends up having like a pencil or a pen or something.
Well, he does that for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then they just ditch that whole plot line. We don't number shit anymore. And then they find that physicist who's written all over his body.
Yes.
There are giant white walls everywhere. Fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but like when you leave a room, you may never go back to that room. Your cast.
But he's also written on the wall. He wrote
you know what?
behind the ladder. Like he had to stick his arm underneath the ladder and write along the wall back there.
Maybe he did that until he realized that he might not get back to that room, and then he wrote all over himself, and then he ended up going back to the first room, and he was like, "Well, now I feel silly."
She takes his pen.
That guy's. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Kate takes his pen. Yeah, because she goes through his pockets and they're all like, "That's gross." And she's like, "Okay, well, I found a pen." So, because she writes like 60659, like gigantic on her arm.
I mean, like nothing, like literally the 60659, that's the only part of the numbers that ends up mattering. But then there's like huge strings of numbers across the wall. There are things that look sort of like equations. Like there's just.
I don't know. It just reminds me of Scruff McGruff.
The crime dog?
Yeah, Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652. Tell me you know that one too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, see?
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. That's Scruff McGruff's
I'm
address.
aware of him, but only from like brief commercials when I got the American like PBS station.
There's no street address though. How did it go to Scruff McGruff? That's what I'm saying.
Because it was probably a P.O. box.
Oh, it's just Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652. That's how you wrote him letters.
Yeah, but if you send it to the zip code, the post office can do it just by name.
Yeah.
That's how they do Santa Claus.
Yeah. Anyway, just so you know, that's almost the area code of Chicago, Illinois.
We've got Jerry who did the doors. He's got a bunch of watches. Ger will eat him a whole bunch. We've got a character named Max who's like a young, I don't know, like in his 20s-ish kind of guy. He's a computer hacker. He's a video game developer. And we know that he developed a video game where there are like a competitive video game where there are rooms where things happen at like variable speeds.
Yeah.
And somehow the Izon Corporation takes his fucking video game and shoves it into the HyperCube and makes rooms that happen at different speeds because
and then
the movie doesn't give a shit.
Oh no, he sues them.
Yes, he sues them for stealing. But like, how does he know that they stole this to put in their fucking secret government HyperCube?
Well, because
like,
they're also the video game developer Cyberthrill, which is owned by the weapons manufacturer Izon. So he sued Cyberthrill.
So this evil corporate company with their junior evil corporate video game company steals this aspect of this other guy's video game, puts it in their video game, and then goes, you know what? Instead of just putting it in our cheap video game, what if we also put it in our government prison box?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
I wanted to make sure I had that correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Which is kind of the plot of The Last Starfighter, if you think about it.
I've never seen that movie. I don't know. I know. My cultural cachet is pretty limited. It's
okay,
Ger movies and end of list.
It's fine.
So
I'm fine.
Well, look, we'll watch it in Stratford, okay? So you seem real bummed out. So okay. So we've got the young computer hacker video game developer, and then we have a character called Julia Sewell, who is an LA defense lawyer. She represents Izon in that video game lawsuit, and you said that she was in an episode of Forever Night, which was
Avenging Angel.
And who is she in that?
She's the girl who kills her mother, but everybody thinks her dad killed her mother.
Which do you think was a better filming experience for her?
She's unlikable in both.
But she gets to wear a very nice red dress.
In one, she's Julie, and in the other, she's Julia.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So I was looking up the IMDb has a thing where you can put into names and you can see all the things they were in together.
Oh yeah, the thing. Yeah, you sent that.
So I put in Garrett Wynn Davies and Neil Crone, who played Jerry Whitehall.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They were in a short. Oh, but this is later, 2005 video. It's called "Re-Entering the Nightmare." It must be. Oh, I think it's
How
something.
could Jerry have possibly survived?
I think it's something about the making of HyperCube.
I can imagine calling the making of HyperCube.
I didn't realize it was that much
Re-Entering the
later.
Nightmare.
They were both in the RoboCop TV show, just in different episodes.
Well, I look forward to seeing him alive and not eaten in RoboCop. I'm not looking forward to any part of RoboCop. That just sounds terrible. But I'm. You know what? We're gonna do it for Ger. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna get there. But okay,
they were both in different episodes of My Secret Identity.
You know what's funny? So what I was doing the same thing. I was looking at the little old lady actress, the one who plays Mrs. Paley, and she's been in like most of the shows that Ger was in, like in the late 70s, early 80s, some of the ones that we've been having a hard time finding. She was in like episodes of every single one. Like the Hanging Around. I think she was in Judge. She was in I think maybe Side Street. Like she was in The Great Detective, which is one of the ones I haven't been able to find that Ger is in. She's been in Hanging In, which I can't find. For the Record, which I think we do have. Littlest Hobo, she's been in. The Edison Twins, she's been in. Like half of the Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Like it does seem like the more that the deeper that we dig, it does seem like there were like 5 actors working in Canada in the late 90s, and they were all like the same TV shows, pretty much. But like never, as far as I can tell, she never crossed over into an episode with Ger. Just that like they've all been in the same stuff. So
yeah,
okay. So we've got Max, we've got Julia, we've got Mrs. Paley, who is a retired theoretical mathematician who worked for Izon, and she's got her character basically has dementia, and so she like keeps looking for her dog and keeps thinking she's at like the gym the entire time. And then she's the one who realizes that they're in a hypercube because
she's like, oh, a tesseract. Oh, because conveniently there's a picture.
There's a drawing.
Tesseract in the center of each wall. Like
you know that thing where you draw the thing that you're in on the wall of the thing that you're in so everyone knows?
Obviously.
Fucking obviously. So like, okay. So those are the characters. So the way that the hypercube works, which it doesn't, but the way that it sort of works is that, so it's like I said, they're in a cube. Every surface has a little portal in the middle, has like a door.
So the interesting thing is literally everyone has some connection to Izon except Ger, who they shoehorned into this plot in the most contrived way possible. They were like, oh, well, he's a private investigator and he's looking for this woman who went missing. This, like, the secretary that they grabbed from her desk and tossed into the hypercube so that Ger could get hired to go find her.
Yeah, no part of this.
So that we could have a guy with a knife.
Well, I would say he's as attached to Izon as Max Reisler.
No,
is.
Max is like friends with a guy who hacked Izon.
But even then, it's sort of like, why are we doing this?
Well, he hacked the government military database.
And he created the game.
Right. He has a lawsuit against the game company that is like a shell company attached to Izon.
Well, it's okay because he died as he lived, getting a
fucking around,
getting a pity fuck in.
It literally is a pity fuck. Okay. So that's the other thing I have a hard time with this movie is they specifically go, okay, time doesn't matter, reality doesn't matter. They mention the idea of parallel universes, but also like parallel universes that somehow all occur in the same hypercube. So like you could walk into a room and see your alternate universe corpse, but it's like you're in the same physical space, which I don't.
Yeah.
But like, so they see dead versions of themselves multiple times, but like sometimes it takes. Like I don't like. That's what doesn't make any sense. So we've got.
I think each room is actually the same room, and they're all just parallel universes of the same single room. So I think they only built the one room, and then the hypercube, and then they stuck it into this 4-dimensional construct in a way that the portals lined up. So then every time you go from one room to another, you're actually going into an alternate universe version of that same exact room. And that's why at the end, everything starts showing up in the one room. They start merging.
That makes more sense than anything I remember seeing in the entire movie, so I choose to believe that is accurate. But why do some of the deaths?
Bullshitting.
That's a skill. But like, why? So why do some of the deaths matter? And some. So like, okay. So for instance, as you mentioned, so the defense lawyer character and the young computer hacker / video game developer character, they end up kind of going off on their own for parts of the movie. Like they're separated from the rest of the group. They specifically talk to each other and go like, we would never hang out in real life, but this is some kind of a weird dream world with weird dream logic. Let's have sex. And so they do have sex. Gravity in the room goes crazy. And also time, dilates, and they end up kind of becoming desiccated floating fuck corpses in the middle of this room. Yeah. And it takes, they don't
which
like
is not
reappear.
even an exaggeration.
Directed
They
by M. Night
absolutely become
I mean, how else would you describe that?
It's like the beach. M. Night Shyamalan's
become
The Beach
sex
movie
mummies.
where they age really, really fast.
What did they call it in the Outer Limits? It was like some kind of flu or whatever. They're like, remember they think
oh my god,
the mummified bodies have.
It wasn't VD, but it was like
like strep or something, some kind of strep. They're like, is this like a new variation of strep?
Oh my god, that's terrible. I don't remember. I just remember that there were like desiccated sex mummies at the end of that movie too. Why is Ger in so many things with sex mummies? Why is that
secret characteristic?
He collects them.
Desiccated
shriveled sex mummies.
It's a fetish.
This movie was so dumb and yet so long.
It thought it was really smart is the problem. Like it
was.
So, but I like your explanation that it's one room makes sense though.
Yeah.
I imagine they interviewed somebody who knew some physics stuff.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, give us some high concept, like sci-fi things related to like 4 spatial dimensions, hypercube, alternate universes, quantum bullshit, whatever. And so they just wrote down like the top 20
Quantum bullshit.
the top 20 high level like sci-fi concepts based on this kind of theoretical stuff. And they're like, okay, now we need to put all 20 of those into one movie.
And they took a
All
shot
at
every
once.
time they managed a new concept.
Yeah.
So So we have the computer hacker young guy and the defense lawyer. They have sex and they die as floating corpses. We've got Jerry, who will at first be. I mean, he's eaten by an angry square. I don't know how else to explain what happens to Jerry. They're all in. I think all the characters are still in one room together, and then the blind girl, because she can hear stuff that no one else can hear because she's blind, and it's one of those movies.
Yep.
She's like, "Oh, it's here! I hear it! Like it's here!" And then there's a square, a flat 2-dimensional square that appears floating in the middle of the room, and Mrs. Paley's like, "I want to touch it," and I'm like, "Maybe don't do that." But she walks up to it, and the square starts gaining dimensions, kind of like it goes from a square to like a cube to like a hypercube shape. Like there's a drawing that they have of a hypercube, and that's kind of what the square looks like. And then it just becomes a bunch of like sharp angles that are mad. It's a bunch of mad shapes. They're very angry, and it becomes kind of like a wind of angry shapes, and it makes the sound of like, if you can mentally imagine like taking scissors and like cutting really quickly and making like a noise, but like scissors, and then just imagine that being mad at you and floating around a room really quickly, and it nearly gets Mrs. Paley, and Jerry, I think, tries to knock her out of the way, and then poor Jerry gets eaten by squares. He gets eaten by squares. He does
get eaten, yes.
So Matt, you're the physicist. Can you
can you weigh in here?
So
give me your best bullshit.
The depiction of a hypercube that you usually see is a 3-dimensional projection of a 4-dimensional object. And a way to think about that might help is, let's say you have a cube, like a 3-dimensional cube, and you stick it through a sheet of paper. Right? That intersection of that single sheet of paper and the 3-dimensional cube is going to look like just a square. Right? Because you're projecting that 3-dimensional cube into a 2-dimensional space. Right? And it's just going to look like a square.
Okay.
And if you move that cube or rotate it, then that square is just going to like move around, rotate. You could tilt it and it turns into like a diamond shape. Okay. Whatever. You're like taking a cross section of the cube, and that's your 2-dimensional projection of a 3-dimensional cube. And then the 3-dimensional projection of the 4-dimensional cube is that like looks like it's flowing in on itself cube, but that's like one alignment of the 4-dimensional object with 3-dimensional space. And if it's moving around in 4 dimensions, it's going to just be all over the place with where it projects into 3-dimensional space. If it's like a wire
so then
frame.
what it looks like when it starts flying around the room to attack everybody, that's kind of the 4th dimensional thing poking into our 3 dimensions.
The 4-dimensional cat knocked over the 4-dimensional cube, and now it's spinning through 4-dimensional space, and it looks like this like random burst of lines and edges and everything.
And it's angry.
In 3-dimensional space.
And the part where it's angry and eats people, that's
physics.
That's the cat. It's a self-organizing dynamical system that is reacting to the people in the room.
Mm-hmm. Such a master bullshit artist. Okay, so
truly,
that's why you hired me to be the science consultant.
That is absolutely why. You're helping me understand the parts of this movie that could possibly be understood, frankly. But I'm trying to hearken back to the high-level sci-fi concepts and where they might have gone
better with them if they had tried.
You mean the plot? If they had given us a plot, yeah, that would have been cool.
They gave us a plot. They gave us a bad guy, and it was Ger.
Okay, so Ger is not the bad guy. He is a bad person, but he's not the antagonist of the plot.
Tell that to all the Jerrys. And all the Beckys.
So the first time is this military-industrial complex developing this 4-dimensional space research.
Okay.
And throwing people in it just to see what happens.
But then I don't even know why. Like, in the first movie, it sounds like they're like very clearly like, this is a prison. And I'm like, okay. Here.
Okay. How about this? I can bullshit something.
No, do it. Use your skills.
Consciousness. And reality and quantum physics.
Okay.
Reality doesn't exist unless it's observed. What if the HyperCube doesn't actually do anything unless there's a human mind there to observe it?
So they just picked people at random and dropped them in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes as much sense as what actually happens in the fucking movie. But okay, so first...
Yeah, I wonder if they actually chose Becky or if she just wandered in there on her lunch break.
Oh, is this where the coffee maker is?
Oh, look at the pool. Did you guys see we have a pool now? Go hang out by the pool.
Like, no part of this. I can't, like, it doesn't. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So, the first time that Jerry dies, it's nobly trying to save Mrs. Paley from a bunch of angry squares. And then afterwards, Ger will come upon him like on his own a whole bunch of times. And I think they're trying to imply that like it's over a long period of time because eventually you will see Ger with the worst old age makeup I've ever seen in my entire life. Which as I told Rachel, the first time I saw it, I thought that he was supposed to have frostbite because he's like blue. Has like white all over him.
His hair is all frosted.
It's all frosted. It looks like frostbite. It looks like that scene in The Shining at the end when
it looks like that stuff you spray on the window at Christmas time.
Yeah, to make fake snow.
Like snow. Yeah.
I was like, oh, is the HyperCube cold now? But no, it's just been like 100 years, and it's like it's Ger but elderly, so he's just covered in fake snow. But so the first time we see Jerry die, it's for the squares, and then afterwards, every time that Ger sees Jerry, Ger's like, well, I'm hungry. And it's like, this movie has only been on for 30 minutes. Nothing has told me how long like it is in like the time of the HyperCube. So it's just Ger looking like I could use a snack and then brutally murdering and eating Jerry.
He goes, multiple times. Why does being near you give me a mouth-watering feeling when he goes in the woods?
I wonder if Ger ad-libbed that.
The best part is the first time he kills Jerry because the camera is like 3 inches from everyone's face at all times anyway.
As is
but
Ger.
It's like right next to Jerry's face. And Ger is
like
so fucking sweaty. And he's like right next to the actor playing Jerry. And he literally leans in and like rests his nose on Jerry's cheek.
I remember seeing that.
And
I was like, are you nuzzling him?
He's like, hi, Jerry. He like leans in.
He's way the fuck too close.
You know he had that like, you know when you don't stink because you're like, maybe you're wearing deodorant and you showered, but you have that like, I'm really, really hot smell.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? That like,
yes.
I'm definitely moist at least 2 layers deep. That's what he looks like he smells like. And then he's like right next to this guy and he's like, Jerry, are you hungry? Jerry's like, I mean, like a little. And he's like, I'm really hungry, Jerry.
I will say that scene was definitely one of the highlights for me because I was watching and I was like, is he just, you know, sometimes like camera angles are deceiving and you're like, oh, it looks like your faces are really close, but I think it's just the camera angle like being kind of funny. But watching that one scene, I was like, no, his like nose is on Jerry's eyelashes.
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
So close.
Is this the porno parody? And I like missed it. I like
beads of sweat coming down his face, falling into the weird like blonde to strawberry blonde chin strap beard goatee thing that
his
he's
invisible
sporting.
beard. Ugh. We'll get to his outfit in a second because I have so many thoughts and they're not good. Not a single one.
Oh my God. I was like, wow, they are so close.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's one of the other things that makes no sense about this movie. Like the plot is bad, the acting is serviceable, they do the best they can with what they have. But then there's like all these extreme close-ups and all these weird angles. And then it's like not even just extreme close-ups. It's okay, let's do an extreme close-up of like Ger's face staring directly down the barrel of the camera, which is deeply upsetting for reasons I can't even describe to you. like I don't like it. And then they're like, what if on top of that we have Ger, just do like Eskimo kisses to this Jerry guy before you eat him. Just get real close.
I wonder how many times Ger licked him.
Like I was gonna say, lick him, Ger. Just go for it. Jerry's like, please don't.
I wonder if that's why this actor has like never acted again. He's like, I can't.
Like, I can't. Every time he walked into any kind of a like a reading for a part, he'd have like PTSD flashbacks of Ger's nose like resting on his cheek, and he's like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
Just hearing Ger going like. Like right up to his face. Like I'm not 100% sure that the making of this movie was not also a psychological torture experiment. Like maybe you said that there was what was the behind the scenes thing called, like
Return
Into the
to
Nightmare?
The horrors.
Re-entering the nightmare.
Re-entering the nightmare. I just hope everybody brushed their teeth like regularly because they are all up in each other's faces. Especially Ger. He gets the most face-in-face time of anybody.
Do you know what I think it is? Like in everything else he's in, he gets to grab ladies and make out with them. And in this, he couldn't. So he's like, I'm going to stick my knife like directly into everyone's eyeballs. I'm going to Eskimo kiss Jerry's nose. I'm going to get so close to everyone else. I need that human touch. And he just like gets in there with everybody. So, okay. So the Jerry character dies once with Squares, dies like 5 more times with Ger. We end up finding out that Ger has found the Becky Young girl who works for Izon, which again, we don't know how she gets into the cube. We don't know if she snuck in there, if it was an accident, if it was on purpose.
Shit all about it. Yeah.
No, just that she works for Izon because she has a little name badge. And we know that Ger he finds her. And like you said, he was like, oh my God, you're the girl I'm looking for. Like, yay, your parents sent me to find you. But I'm crazy now. And so then he just stabs her. And then we find out that he kills her like 5 more times because Ger will turn around at one point and he has like 6 of her name badges just pinned to the front of his fucking shirt. Like one from every alternate universe version of her, which I don't like. I have such a hard time understanding this like physical transference between alternate universes thing, and maybe our resident physicist can explain that to us because I'm having a real hard time.
Why is he not meeting
alternate universes?
Why is he not meeting alternate versions of himself?
I have an opinion on that.
He does. He does a couple of times. He sees himself a couple of times. Remember, there's a couple of times where he pokes his head through a hole and he sees a version of himself with Mrs. Paley about to hurt her, and then his head gets knocked off,
and she gets her head cut off. Yeah.
Yeah. So he sees alternate versions of himself. But like what I'm having a hard time understanding like how you can keep souvenirs from alternate reality versions of things.
Okay.
Do it.
So at the end, all the rooms are collapsing back in on each other. Right? I propose that at the beginning of this experiment, they started with the one single room and it starts like splitting into parallel universe versions of itself and duplicates whatever's in there. So that means whoever gets put in first, like I guess whenever someone gets put in, they only get put into one of the rooms. But then if it's early enough in the life cycle of the experiment, that room that they get put into will start splitting into alternate reality versions of that room, including that person. So if someone gets put into a room really early in the lifespan of the HyperCube, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of rooms with copies of that person. And then someone who enters really late in the life cycle of the HyperCube, they're only going to have a few copies of themselves.
Okay, so I shouldn't think about it like alternate universe the way I'm thinking like timelines. I should think about it as like someone hit control copy and just made a whole bunch of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it a little less stupid.
So then you
okay.
end up with like Sasha, who snuck in at the last second,
so
and there's only like 3 of her.
Yeah, because we'll
that we
see a
see.
bunch of desiccated corpses. This movie, like, I don't know what it is with like things that we've watched with Garrett, but like there are desiccated corpses everywhere. Frequently sex mummies, but then this movie also has regular mummies.
Not as many mummies as Werner Herzog's Nosferatu.
I keep meaning to watch that. It's on my list. I'll have to, because they will at one point go into a room where there's like creepy shriveled up mummies of every character in the movie wearing their clothes. Their clothes look totally
wigs.
fine. And wigs.
And wigs.
Their clothes look, clothes and hair look totally fine, but then their bodies are all shriveled up brown mummies.
All the mummies look like the exact same mummy, and they just put different clothes and wigs on them
And wigs.
to be the different
probably.
people.
Yes.
Probably. Well, like the one time that you get to see like close up mummy faces when you see the lawyer and the hacker, like their sex mummies floating around, like their faces look nothing like the actors' faces. They're just like generic, squunched up mummy faces. Like they, you know.
Yeah.
So I think your theory is probably correct. They just had like generic mummies and they went, I don't know, throw a wig on that one. There you go. So, okay. So that's how, Jerry dies a whole bunch. We know how Max and Julia die, like the one time. And I guess also like the floor mummies. So floor mummies and sex mummies. And then we've got, Mrs. Paley, and doesn't Ger kill her a whole bunch, but like just by stabbing her and calling her a cunt, which was interesting.
Yeah, don't trust the C word, and then stabs her and then gets his head chopped off. But then we never return to that and figure out why he would say don't trust her.
Yeah. Well, but it's sort of like, so that's the other frustrating thing with this movie is when they meet alternate versions of themselves, those alternate versions sometimes appear to be like further ahead or further behind in time. And they know things that we don't know from our timeline, like the things that branched off and happened differently, but we never really understand. Like, I feel like that happens with a lot of the things that characters say is it's like this, you're saying this like it has significance and maybe like in your timeline, the version of the movie that you lived through, this makes sense. But the version of the movie that I'm watching, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't. I mean, maybe don't trust her because she used to work for Izon, but she's senile at this point, and there's nothing that she doesn't, like, she's not the one that's betraying them. If anyone's betraying them, it's Kate because she was sent in as a spy.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. But she'll die a whole bunch. And then we will see, like, other people, like, briefly, we will see other people, like, in the hypercube. So we see the body of Dr. Phil Rosenzweig, who was a former colleague of Mrs. Paley, and he worked for Izon, and he was a Nobel Prize nominee, and he did math and science things. We'll see like this colonel, who I think is the one who says like, "Oh, there should be numbers. There should be a way out of this."
Yeah.
Like characters
so
where they're
must have
thrown
been in the first one, or involved in the first one.
He might have been involved in the first one. I don't think his character. Let me double check. I don't think his character was involved in the first one. No.
Okay, so he was probably part of the shadow organization that coordinated the first one.
Maybe, yeah. Well, and that's the other interesting thing is so we have these characters like they die and it doesn't matter, and they live and they like it doesn't matter, and then at the end of the movie, everyone is dead except for Kate. Kate will grab a necklace that Sasha is wearing. She'll realize that all these numbers she's seen on the walls of the hypercube refer to the time on Jerry's watch that it will read when the hypercube is going to implode. So like there's two things going on. There's the hypercube, which is like dangerous on its own because it's unstable and can only exist in our reality for a short period of time. And then there's whatever the fuck the weird ghost monster is that lives inside the hypercube but that hates everyone and wants to kill them, which is never explained and never addressed. Because I feel like physics experiment gone wrong is one thing, and physics experiment gone wrong with an angry triangle square ghost that wants to eat you is like a different thing. They're not the same, but like whatever. So she'll somehow realize, and I don't even remember how she realizes that the time on the watch is the same as the 60659.
Well, because Ger dramatically falls with his arm that has like 6 Jerry watches. And she looks down, it's like 6:04, and she's like, oh shit.
but like I don't know how she. I don't know how. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how she makes that leap, especially because some parts of the wall just say 60659, but some parts of the wall have, like I said, all those equations, or there'll be like 17 numbers and then 60659. So it's like, how did you realize that the 60659 part was important and not the like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, fucking blah, 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 60659? Like, how do you, but the movie doesn't care. The movie hates you. It's fine. So then she will realize that the cube is about to implode. She will open the last remaining portal, which is at the bottom of the cube, conveniently. She drops through into a big black empty void. She wakes up in a shallow pool of water with some guys who look like they're the military. And the version of the movie that we saw, which is the regular version that you can buy, a guy sees her. I think they all don't they sort of look like military? Aren't they dressed like military-esque? Yeah.
They're
in uniform.
Yeah, so they will take the necklace, the Sasha necklace, which has a little weird floaty, I don't know, memory disc or something inside of it. Like it's like a little like magnetic floaty guy. So they'll take that from the necklace, they'll put it in a little test tube, they'll stare at it like it's very meaningful. They will shoot her in the fucking head, because why the fuck not? Shoot your best operative in the head. The only one who survived the fucking HyperCube, who could tell you shit about what's inside it. We don't care, because the movie doesn't care. So they shoot her in the head, and then they pick up the phone, and they're like, phase 2 complete. Apparently, there is a longer alternate ending on the DVD that reveals that the owners of the HyperCube are the government, which, like, it's fine, but it's like, when we're watching it, it's like Izon, and then at the end, they're military guys. So it's sort of confusing. Like, is Izon just a military contractor, and they're doing this for the military? Like, what's going on here? Like, why are you introducing this company character when it's just the military the whole time? But I guess on the DVD, they were like, we're not going to make anything else make sense, but we will give you like 10 extra seconds in the finale to really like help you figure out that it's the government and not just a company that's evil for evil's sake, I guess. But like, this must be so confusing to listen to. I can't even imagine this is not as much garbage as the movie was itself. But like that, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up.
It chooses not to make sense. I mean, you get to watch Ger with a very fake looking knife eat people a whole bunch, which is fun.
It's the dumbest knife. It's like 2 inches long, and he threatens everybody with it, and they're all like, oh no, he got a knife. There are like 6 of you. Tackle the man and take his knife.
Well, it looks plastic. Like, it doesn't even look,
it looks like the one
soft.
you get where they like, you can stab with it and it goes back into the handle and it makes like the
spring loaded
sound.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. I don't know. I just remember the moment when I realized this was not going to be a good movie.
Was it the opening credits?
I mean, there were several before this too, but this was another one of those moments where I realized it's not going to be a good movie. And it's where we as characters have gone through like 4 rooms where time is different, gravity is different. Everyone has had weird experiences. And then Ger opens the floor panel and the old woman is like, oh no, the old woman opens the floor panel and she's like, reaches out and grabs her own hand because she's on the other side too. And Ger pops up and he's like, don't trust her. And then he gets his head lobbed off and then the door shuts and they're all like, what the shit was that? And then Jerry goes on like a 15-minute rant about alternate realities while everyone is screaming and no one is letting him talk. And then they're all like, no, that can't be real. That's not possible. And Ger says, we're all high on LSD and having the exact same delusions. And you're like, I'm sorry, but you are trapped in an infinite cube in which gravity and time and reality is all distorted. If someone goes, I think that was an alternate reality, you're probably not going to go, that's a step too far.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like, you know, when you're watching like a monster movie and the characters like see monsters you know what it is? Okay, it is Forever Night. It's Forever Night every time Kathy Disher's character is like, I don't know, man, I know that you're a vampire, but like mud monsters? And you're like, you really like, do you know what I mean? Where she's like, psychics, and you're like, okay, but we established the baseline is vampires are real. Yeah. But like anything else that like might be at all supernatural, she's like, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm a scientist. And I'm like, girl, I do not doubt that you are a scientist. I am not questioning your bona fides. However, we've already set the floor at crazy shit. So like you being like, I don't know. I mean, I believe in this crazy shit, but like that's too much crazy shit. I'm like, is it? Is it though? Like, can we just like, if one crazy thing is real, could we maybe like be a little open to another crazy thing? But yeah, I do like,
that's all I'm ever asking.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
That everyone else in this, I was going to say play, but that would be a much smarter version of this. Everyone else in this movie is like, this is a hoax. This is a computer game. We're all high on LSD and having the exact same trip at the exact same time, which is that a thing? How would you make that happen?
I don't know. The one guy's like, this is a TV show.
Yeah, it's definitely like a Japanese TV show. And I was like,
this
sir?
is like Squid Game. Okay.
Which, to be fair, is not. It's not implausible that if the Japanese figured out how to do this, that they would not make a survival game show
but
based on it.
They wouldn't kidnap you and like erase your memory so you popped up in there and you were like,
if they could just make copies of you, yeah, they would. Because say you're the real one here with us. That's just a copy of you that we made.
You can eat it
it's
later.
It's not you suffering. You're right here watching this with me.
Are you libeling all of the Japanese? What is
no, the caricature of the kinds of crazy TV game shows the Japanese make.
No, I'm aware, but like I feel like as far as I'm aware, none of their TV shows have included like coerced labor. Like,
well, they just say it's a computer simulation. If they can make copies, they have plausible deniability.
Let's just say, if the entertainment industry in general could create a high stakes game like this, they would. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably fair.
Yeah, there's not enough penises for Japanese
we had
stuff.
The Biggest Loser. How much worse? You just doubling down on whatever's happening over there right now. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, we had
they
the biggest...
love their penis festivals.
What can we... we just...
broke me. Just broken. The two of you today.
I mean, they had we had The Biggest Loser where people weighed themselves on television. How much fucking worse can it be?
I feel like HyperCube would be much fucking worse than that. Do you know what I mean? Like if I had to, if my options are get my fat ass up on a scale and everyone points and stares at me, or I get eaten by an angry rectangle, I'm gonna go with let's look at my ass jiggle. I mean, if those are my two options, jiggle. Like
it's like
come on.
An awful Truman Show. That's what it is. You can't do that on television. Kill and eat Jerry? No.
Well, we don't ever see him eating.
I know, it's only ever implied.
We just see like the tiniest amount of fake blood on him. It's so funny.
Yeah, he's got like fake blood on his collar. And then he somehow survives getting his 4 to 5 inch knife rammed through his eyeball. Because she takes his knife and stabs him in the eye and he's like, ah! And then he turns around. She turns around and he's standing there. He's like, yeah, you remember when you did that to me? Yeah, I just did it. And his eye is like 1.5 inches lower than it should be. And it's a complete
substantial damage.
Completely different color from the rest of his face.
They spent all the budget on the set.
Whoever had to do the makeup and the costumes for this movie, I feel like they got no money, which probably they got no money.
Yeah.
Or they showed up to work on day one and they went, you know what? Fuck all of you. I hate all of you. You're all going to suffer as I have suffered. And that's how they dressed and they did everyone's makeup. And it's just, it's so bad. And it's like, so it's early 2000s. So I need the audience to understand that any woman that could have like sort of greasy looking hair, she does. Any guy that could have tips does. Like poor Ger. Poor Ger. They give him, you know that thing where you like have gelled tips on each and every single strand of hair on the top of your head?
No, I think that's just sweat. I don't think his hair is gelled. I think he is damp. I think he is just
he looks
damp.
Very damp.
He's wearing a leather jacket.
A weirdly sized leather jacket.
Everyone else is wearing like t-shirts and jeans, and he is in 3 shirts because he's an undershirt.
Never nude. He knew what he was signing up for. Okay,
his button-up shirt, and then his leather jacket and his jeans.
Yeah, he's got the wife beater, the dress shirt, the leather belt, the dress pants, the leather loafers, and the weirdly, like, it's sort of like a callback to Kung Fu, where it's like, sir, why is your leather jacket this size? Were you two men before you showed up to set? Why is this so big?
I must appear shapeless. I must appear shapeless at all times. And they're like,
I have no form.
Okay. Why is a secret characteristic that there is someone who is going to be how can I phrase this? That there is someone portraying a disabled individual poorly in it?
Because it was the 70s, 80s,
yes,
90s, and 2000s.
Yes,
That's
it was the time. Yes, it was the time. But also a disproportionate amount of the things that he's been in has, because in Kung Fu, he is the guy who's supposed to be disabled. In Forever Night, we have Fallen Idol, where there's a character who's disabled. And then, which is just done the worst out of all of them. It's just the worst because Natalie cures him. And then we had this one with Sasha, who is blind, but also, like you said, she got blind yesterday and cannot function. Even though she's supposed to be a super hacker, mathematics genius. I don't know.
And it's the secret 90s heuristic of if anyone is disabled, they also have psychic powers. Well, and anyone who's of any ethnicity in anything we watch seems like they have psychic powers. So she's Asian and disabled, so maybe that's why she can hear the ghost wind.
Yeah, I don't know. Attack her. Yeah, I think it's mostly the timeline in which he did most of his work, and that's how it was all portrayed.
Yeah,
it's just choices were made. That's all I'm saying, and they seem to be made near him with the disturbing amount of frequency.
But it's I just keep going back to thinking I can see why you would sign up for this movie. I can absolutely see why you would sign up for this movie because in theory, it sounds really interesting. It sounds like No Exit, but in the fourth dimension, you'd be like, what? What? Do you any kind of a locked box problem? Here's all these characters and they have to deal with each other and they have to point out each other's flaws and get on each other's nerves and they make each other reveal secrets and come to terms with themselves, or you're oh, that sounds really interesting. And then this movie is fuck you, HyperCube. It doesn't end up.
Cube was really big. I remember Cube being really popular, so I can see him being oh, I'm going to be in the sequel to a really popular movie. That worked out really well with American Psycho. Let me go ahead and shoot my shot. Try that
American
again.
Psycho 2, isn't that after this? Or is it before?
Maybe he was that worked out so well with HyperCube.
Yeah.
Whichever one came first, he was sequel to a really good movie. I've got you.
I will say, okay, so
wasn't the Forever Night TV show a sequel to a movie?
It was a remake. He commits to this role. In all fairness to Ger, it's a shitty movie, but he's doing his best.
Yeah. I don't doubt it.
I genuinely dislike him, and normally I don't.
That's a feat.
It's just weird. It's just I don't know why any character does anything that they do. I don't know how much time has passed to make them crazy. If I'm not supposed to understand because they're all insane. I don't know that a bunch of time has passed to make them insane, to make me understand them that way. I don't know why he's eating people. I don't know why he's stabbing people. I don't know why the girl he was looking for is in the HyperCube. I don't know why he's in the HyperCube. Do you know what I mean? Izon was oh, he's looking for one of our employees. Stick him in the box. I don't
know. Put him in the fucking HyperCube.
He was poking around. He was stirring up too much attention.
I don't know.
And so they decided to throw him in the HyperCube.
I just love how nobody else eats, nobody else pees, nobody else drinks, but Ger is there long enough for his hair to all turn white, but for his beard to not grow any longer.
Oh my God, yeah, we didn't talk about the... Okay,
that's a very good point.
It just turns white in situ.
He trims it with his knife.
With this tiny little knife.
Okay, so he's wearing a dress shirt. He's not wearing a tie, and like normally the tie is our giveaway that he's evil. But in this, he's got the little goatee, which, like you said, the goatee is dark. But then if you look closely, whenever they have close-ups of him, he has this like faint blonde chin strap beard happening. So he's got black goatee and blonde chin strap going on at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's how we know he's bad. He only has a goatee when he's bad.
Yeah, the bicolor beard. That's the truest sign of evil.
Yes.
And the pocket plastic knife, which why would they get? No one else gets to have their knives or car keys or shit. Why does he get to have the picture and the it makes no sense. Why? Why this whole fucking movie?
So they can have an antagonist. Just having the
but
cube
they already
was not enough.
have the antagonist. It's like the walls of the cube like become pointy and shit. And at one point the walls like start a ghost version of the wall starts moving forward and like eating things like aging things to the point of
temporal
killing them?
shockwave.
Yeah. There's like the temporal shockwave, and then there's like bars of time that come through the wall.
Time crystals.
And then sometimes it like ripples down the wall. I don't know.
Yeah, like the cube itself is the antagonist. So then when they're like, what if we also have one Ger with a knife? It's like
it wasn't antagonistic enough.
I guess. Well, it's like the cube itself is trying to kill you, and then the weird ghost snake monster is trying to kill you. It's an
impersonal thing. It's like
I guess.
nature. They needed a personal antagonist with the human touch.
Ger was like, "Can I be the bad guy?"
I'm like, well, you already have the goatee. Okay.
And they're like, okay, fine. He just showed up with the knife, like the prop knife, and they were like, he's not supposed to have a knife. They're like, don't tell him.
They showed up. We don't know who's going to be the bad guy yet. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay,
do I have to wear a goatee?
He just showed up with the goatee, and they were like, great, you're evil now. I don't know. I can't.
No, he showed up with his blonde chin strap beard, and they're like, you're evil in this. And so they're like, okay, you either have to wear a tie or you have to put on this black goatee that we have hanging around on set. And there he was like, well, I'm going to be really hot already. I guess I don't want to wear the tie. Give me the black goatee that does not match any of my hair color. Well, although I will say, even his like regular hair, and I don't know if it's because he's, like you said, sweating his ass off the entire movie, or if it's hair dye, but like his top of his head hair looks like a lot darker than the normal.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of red.
Blonde.
He's supposed to be kind of ginger.
Is he?
It's sort of red. Yeah, it's a bit reddish. I don't know. This feels like this is like a common trope where you have the one character who is unstable, and then they seem to cooperate for a while, and then as soon as things go badly, they start to kill everybody. It's not a great trope, but it's a trope that exists.
Yeah, but like he starts out crazy, kind of. I feel like he starts out crazy and then seems normal, violent, and then goes back to crazy.
But he does cooperate. Like, remember when they get to the room where the enemy's gate is suddenly down, like they have to climb down. And so she makes them take off their pants and make a rope so that everybody can climb down, which
convincingly looks very uncomfortable.
Which never happens ever again. We never enter another room where gravity is down. Only once.
Yep.
And he helps. Like, he takes his pants off, he makes a rope. So
I mean, I'm not against any movie where Ger takes his pants off.
Yeah. I mean, but
I'm fine with that. More movies that do that, please.
He just goes from like, I'm tentatively cooperating with you all because I think it's upping my chances of getting out of here, to Jerry looks awfully tasty real fast. I think that's my main issue, is just like, this character was already kind of trash because I hate this kind of character. And then you were just like, what are his motivations? He's hangry.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't understand any of the characters. They all suck, but they don't even suck enough where I'm like, yeah, kill him. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm just like,
except
okay,
Sasha,
like
maybe.
She's just sort of so weak and whiny. And then like the first 2 minutes of meeting her, she uses the R word, which I was like, oh yeah, it's 2002 or whatever. I forgot that was a word that you could use in a movie, and I was like, oh, just toss that out there.
Yep.
Okay. Like I was less shocked to hear the word cunt, because I feel like I hear that word all the time, mostly out of my own mouth. So like when I heard the R word, I was like, oh shit, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But like they don't even but like even she's just sort of like ineffectual. And then there's like the lawyer in the red dress and she's just like what? Like what even is her personality?
And she's supposed to be coming from a premiere and they're like, are you an actor? She's like, no, I'm a lawyer. And you're like, what the fuck was the lawyer doing at a premiere?
But I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm at the premiere. Yeah. Like
and she has the worst cheap haircut I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I feel like it's of the time where it's like lots of little like pieces. It's very short, but like kind of like spiky-ish, just sort of sassy. And it's like, it doesn't look good.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like they only cast her because they were like, there's going to be a topless scene. And she was like, I'm game.
Yeah, that's right. You do see like a flash of nipple before she becomes a sex mummy.
There's a fair amount of nipple. And then, they go immediately. Like they get turned into sex mummies while having floating sex.
Because they got hit with the temporal shockwave.
Because they start kissing and then like her dress goes and like flies up around them. So they're surrounded by like fluttering red fabric while they make out. And then, and then
right
like
after she says, I would never even kiss you in real life. So this must be a dream.
And he's like, well, I'll take it. Let's fuck. And she's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, they just all seem like mildly objectionable. Like, oh, like you just said kind of a shitty thing and then you made out with him and then you became a sex mummy. Like, you're not terrible enough for me to cheer. You're not nice enough for me to care. You're just sort of dead.
Because they're not real characters. They're not real enough.
No, exactly. Yeah, they're just sort of like they're not even a bunch of tropes. Ger's character is sort of a bunch of tropes where he's like, I'm the tough PI guy who goes insane, kind of.
Yeah.
But they're also barely sketched in that, like, if you wanted me to care about them, I don't. If you want me to care about, like, the story of the HyperCube saga, like, what happens next? This was phase 2. What's phase 3? I don't understand it enough to care. Like, I just... Even like trying to look up the first movie to be like, oh, does that help me understand this better in context? The answer is fuck no. So it's like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like the most interesting thing literally is the first like 2 seconds where you see the characters on their weird little gurneys and you realize that some of the characters are missing. Like that is the most thought that was put into anything in this entire movie. And I feel bad for saying that because like I said, again, like if this were a play, it would be fantastic. It would be so engaging. It would be so interesting. Like in a play, like you're used to having not so much time with the characters and you can accept a lot more shorthand and like maybe they would have cut out some other scenes and like they would have built up the characters a little bit more so that when they die, you're like kind of sad about it. But like they would have given you something. But like as a premise, I think it would have been really interesting to like be sitting there and be like, so close to it. And I don't know. But like this as a movie, I'm just like,
all we need to do,
like, I mean, the set looks nice.
The one set that they built, maybe 2. All we need to do is contact the person that wrote the Twilight musical and get them to do the Cube 2 HyperCube musical.
I'm in all seriousness, I would watch the shit out of that.
It's one song over and over again, and it's just, oh look, I'm in the box again.
Well, did you notice like the music in this was weird? It was like a Muzak version of like the Mission Impossible theme. Like every time that the cube was about to kill them, and they had to go to a different part of the cube.
I got to be honest, I didn't notice the music. Did you notice the music?
Not much.
No,
I was just waiting for somebody to say, come on, guys, we got to think outside the box.
And then you turned into a sex mummy waiting because nobody ever said it.
I mean,
what a wasted opportunity.
It would have been, but like it would have implied a greater sense of like awareness than this movie had.
Remember that movie where they have to jumpstart the sun?
I'm sorry, what?
There's a movie. I forget what it's called.
They get all of the fissile material on the Earth and make one giant fucking nuclear bomb.
And they have to shoot it at the sun to do it. Anyway, the greatest like criticism I've ever seen of that movie is there's a critic that was like, never at any point does anyone say It's daylight savings time.
Okay, that would have been pretty clever. That would have been amazing. But that's the problem with this is like if this movie were like more serious and cared about the plot more, it could have been good. If it were so much less serious and treated it like the goofy, farcy turd that it is, that would have also been good.
Yeah.
But no, they like ran in the middle line between them and just committed to suckage. Like it just... And like a 12-minute opening credit sequence where they just draw a bunch of cubes. And I was like, no.
Half the budget went to the CG for the opening.
Oh, fuck. And not the CG for the actual movie.
Yeah. Matt was like, that's an irrational equation. Nobody writes an irrational equation on a cube. I was like, oh, it's begun.
On
It's started.
blueprints.
It's started.
Nobody uses an integral to define a measurement on a blueprint.
I love how it had blueprints and it was literally just a puddle that was like...
Well, I think they dropped the box into the puddle.
So, you know, if you want to come up with
did?
some kind of... No, it collapsed in on itself.
I thought the box became a puddle. I was
Give me a minute. I can put something together.
No. So if you want to give any kind of a motive to putting them in there at all, because they're all related to the cube and the creation of the cube, they're all being eliminated because they have knowledge of the cube that if it got out could prevent it from being an effective murder machine.
Yeah, but one of them is currently their lawyer.
Yeah. But wait though. It would be way cheaper to just kill these people.
Yeah.
They kidnapped them out of their homes in the middle of the night or whenever.
They had them.
They had them
on gurneys and plastic bags.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, if the goal is to eliminate them,
they could have simply
and we know that they had bullets because at the end of the movie they used one bullet to kill the Kate character. So I'm sure they could have found like 5 more.
Yeah. We would have benefited from motive, plot,
better pacing, literally any fucking thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it sort of reminds me of? It's like, so I really like the Portal video games. Like if they made 7 more, I would buy 7 more. I like them so much.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I feel like I struggle with understanding, is the Aperture Science test facility, are you testing the weapon and like its effectiveness and ability to do stuff? Because it feels like you say you're testing the weapon, but you're testing the test subjects, you're testing these people and their ability to like solve problems and be good soldiers for you. But that's never like explained why you would need that because they're not a government company. I mean, I think that they want government contracts at some point. I know that they're competing against like the Black Mesa company for things like that. But like, it's never like they keep presenting it as like we're testing the gun, but the only thing that they're testing is the people. And it doesn't, like, I understand why you would test the gun because you're making the gun and you want the gun to do the things you want it to do. I don't know why you're testing the people and you're only testing the people. That's sort of what this movie feels like, where like, I can see a version of reality that makes sense for you putting the people in the cube because you want to see what the cube will do to people, or if you like know what the cube will do and you want to punish and or kill these people or hide them away for whatever. Like I can see a reason why you would do that, but it seems like you didn't choose which version of your story you wanted to go with, and you were like both together. It's all versions. It's just mashing it together.
Well, kind of like the HyperCube itself, where all the plots just collapsed in on themselves and then they all overlapped.
Yeah, but a HyperCube can't write a movie.
And then they all turned into a puddle. I mean, in terms of characteristics, we get almost done. Almost none.
Do we get monster hands at any point?
I recognized him by his hands when he's laying on the gurney at the very beginning. Because his head is kind of turned to the side and I was like, Ger? And then I saw his fingers and I was like, oh, Ger, that one's
Is he the one doing like I'm a corpse hands where they're like on his chest?
He's got them like layered on his chest.
Where he looks like he has the biggest hands that anyone's ever had when he's lying on the gurney.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening here, sir?
Yeah, he just gets his like layers of clothing. I mean, that's pretty much it.
He gets the goatee, which signals he's evil.
Yeah.
He eats people, which he does in more things than not. There are sex mummies, which is becoming a characteristic. Mummies. Yeah.
I think we're stretching here.
I
We're really stretching.
No. Okay, if this were the only thing, I mean, I feel like once you've had two things with sex mummies becomes a characteristic. Like,
He almost makes out with Jerry. He's like so close.
he getting physically way the fuck too close to people. giving Jerry Eskimo kisses.
Sweaty isn't one, but is close.
I mean, he's moist in a lot of things he's in.
I'm still just going to go 1 raised eyebrow out of 5. I just feel like he needed a new kitchen, or this was a daddy needs a renovation movie.
Daddy's got to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel weird about calling him daddy. All right. What? I went somewhere. I'm back. Now. Fuck. I mean, it's not like, I know Ikwe is like our low bar. I don't know. This movie just made me like angry. It made me like,
it's not worse than Ikwe.
It made me like caveman in a shopping mall angry, where I'm like, I don't understand anything. There's lights and colors. They enrage me. They upset me. I want to smash shit with a club. I'm going to go, I don't remember what I gave Ikwe, but like, I feel like I want to give this like a 2.5. Like a 2.5 sloppy wet kisses.
You might have given Ikwe 1.5.
I might have. I don't.
Ikwe was
I've blocked
pretty
out
low.
that experience.
Ikwe still remains the bottom bar. I mean,
until next week when we do Other Women's Children.
HyperCube is right above it. It's like hovering.
Well, you know why they're so close? Because Ikwe and HyperCube both think they're more than what they are. Like HyperCube is like, no, we saw a physicist one time at a bar. We got him really shit-faced drunk. We made him say words to us and we wrote them all down in a notebook. This is going to be brilliant. And Ikwe was like, this is so educational. We found a bunch of First Nations guys. We threw them in the back of a van. We drove them across the country.
Literally.
We threw them into a stream. We made them all wear shitty wigs. We made them wear one shitty wig. We passed between them. And we're going to call this an educational film. And we're going to make Canadian school children watch this forever.
And
it's
at one
brilliant.
point, at one point we put Ger in a tent and he just started crying and carving little pieces of
So we recorded him. We're going to put it in the movie, you guys.
What song is he singing? It's like
Wee Willie Winky.
Wee Willie Winky.
It's Ger wishing he could be in a movie where he gets laid. So he's singing.
Why am I in this?
I think we killed Matt.
He's trying to stay
How you doing,
awake.
buddy?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
He's
So
trying to stay
as a
awake.
physicist, besides them writing equations that are very incorrect, what are your thoughts on this shit show?
The equations aren't incorrect.
Oh dang, we should have looked up
They're-
what Matt's scale was. I remember
They're
he
out
made
of
his
place. They're used in irrelevant places. And like the equations that the physicist scrawls on the walls, those are just like basic physics equations. Those are like the physics law equations. It's not like, oh, I'm going to apply this law with the data that I have and make a calculation. It's literally like the most generalized form of the equations that you can write out, like in the textbook.
Like writing a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but
Yes.
not putting a, b, or c, just the formula.
But like quantum mechanics versions of writing the Pythagorean theorem or the quadratic formula.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like appropriate for this entire movie. Like, we're going to write something on the wall that is totally irrelevant. And even if you had the information to understand what this thing was on the wall, it's still fucking irrelevant to the whole movie because we don't have a plot for it to be relevant to.
Right. Like if you've taken, I don't know how many people who watched this have taken a differential equations class.
Not many.
So many.
But you would see that and say, why is it just like the generalized form of that differential equation? That doesn't make sense. You wouldn't use it like that if you're trying to like actively solve a problem. You're literally just rewriting lines from a textbook.
So it's like they just wrote the word physics on the wall and then nodded
Right.
sagely and went, yes.
Like,
Yes.
I don't like the show Big Bang Theory, but one of the positive things that I've heard about Big Bang Theory is that they actually had some people like on the payroll that were actual like string theorists, and basically they would say, hey, like send us a screenshot of your whiteboard from when you're solving a problem, and we will reproduce that and use it in the set. And so then if you get like an astrophysicist watching The Big Bang Theory, they look at the whiteboards and chalkboards and stuff that these characters are like just have in the background in their offices or classrooms or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's real physics. That's actual math. They're solving things. That's actually a problem that's being solved. And they did none of that for HyperCube.
Which is funny because like in Big Bang Theory, like none of the science actually matters to the plot at all, generally, from what I remember.
That's
but like
a good
in
point.
this, the whole fucking plot is HyperCube.
It's like a Thermoman, where it's the like day-to-day life of Thermoman, the superhero. You'd almost never see him as the superhero. It's just his like domestic life.
Yeah.
So
it's
like,
a British sitcom called Thermoman. You're welcome.
Or Thermoman.
Thermoman, yeah.
And like it doesn't matter what his superpowers are. It doesn't matter what he's doing. It's just, oh, he's gone a lot because he's out saving the world all the time. And his like girlfriend / wife gets upset at him because he can never show up to a like family events or double dates or whatever
on time.
And like in Big Bang Theory, you don't care about the science that their characters are doing, just that they do science.
Yeah.
But then they do that well in the sets. And then here, where the science actually matters, it's like you could have gone and found a postdoc in a physics department and said, hey, we'll give you like $100 and like lunch every day if you just come and put sensible math in the set.
Yeah, just scribble shit on the walls. That's
And they
at
would
all
have
vaguely
they
relevant.
would have they would have paid for the opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
and they didn't even try.
I feel like didn't even try is really the end takeaway from this movie is like they didn't try in terms of science, they didn't try in terms of story, they didn't try in terms of dressing Ger like a normal human person.
Okay,
Like
what do you think about this? The director is also the like head of filmography or photography or whatever it is.
He's
so maybe the guy who like wrote and directed this is a very like visual person. He's like, oh, I know exactly what like big picture the set is going to look like this. These are the kinds of camera angles we're going to get in this cool room like filming situation. Oh, the details of the actual stuff written on the walls, I don't care about that. I'm a big picture aesthetic.
But like 5 people
person.
wrote this movie.
Put
like,
some fucking equations up there.
Just throw some symbols up there. Why is that triangle upside down?
They handed Ger a pen. They were like, write math. And he was like, oh no.
Oh my God, this movie. I don't even know what to say about it. Like you can't critique a movie that doesn't exist and Cube 2 HyperCube doesn't really exist. It's not
I think we've
really
done a good I think we've done a good job here. I think we've broken it down to its component parts and then shit on them individually.
I mean, look, we don't love Ger any less.
No.
We're still a fan.
We've all taken jobs just for the pay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we all do what we have to do.
There's no shame in it. You do what you have to do. This was not a passion project. This was a daddy gets paid project.
Yeah. Well, but like I say, like I can see why it could have conceivably started as a passion project, because if you just describe this as
no, not for Ger, it wasn't a passion project. This was somebody watching Cube, the first one, and being like, "What if there was quantum teleportation?"
No, but I mean, I can see why you would take this as an actor if it were only described to you as a bunch of people are locked in one room, and also there are death traps. Like it's like a locked room puzzle movie, but
Yeah.
like there's some like action and adventure and shit. Like that sounds like it could be great. It sounds like it really could be very interesting. But like, whereas it sounds like the first one was more like a thriller where there's like a way to solve things. This one was like, oh, you want to solve something? Fuck you. Ger's an old man now. He only has one eye. He's going to eat a bunch of people. Deal with it. Boom, the movie's over. Here's a puzzle. Like, just what? Fucking what? Like, what?
Which is exactly what I texted you. I went, wait, what?
And that's how I knew that you'd gotten to the end of the movie, because you literally just texted, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, that is the correct response to the end of this movie.
Okay, so do you think at the cast after party, somebody bought a bunch of Ben and Jerry's, but then pasted a little C over the end, over the N, so that it was Beck and Jerry's, and everybody got to eat Beck and Jerry's?
That's way more thought than anyone. I think the cast party is all of them just looking each other dead in the eyes and just going, never again.
No.
Silently
They
leaving the
walked
room.
out and would not make eye contact with each other. Like
Except for Ger.
like
Ger
they
got into everybody's face and tried to make eye contact.
He's just rubbing his nose on Jerry.
Eskimo kisses to everyone on the way out the door.
Are you hungry, Jerry?
I would love to see the like 20-year later cast reunion of Cube 2 HyperCube. Like, what do you say to these people that you were in this movie together that like doesn't like, does it feel like a fever dream? Do you remember any of it? Are you like, I think if we ask Ger today, like, hey, what was Cube 2 HyperCube about? He'd be like, I was not in that movie. That movie does not exist.
I've never heard of
He'd
that
probably
movie.
be like, I haven't seen it.
That
I don't
sounds
know,
like
I've
a
never
cool name
seen
for
it.
a movie. Somebody should make a movie called that because it doesn't exist right now.
That
I'd
movie
be
does
in
not
it.
exist in this reality.
I'd be in it. Let me know when they start filming.
Can I give sweet butterfly kisses to a man I'm about to chew on? Oh,
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Oh yeah, that wasn't me. That was my brother Jared.
Jared, yeah. If ever there were an opportunity for Jared to come out of retirement, I mean, this was it.
It'd be funny if he had like a name he went by that was code for this movie as shit. And it was like, this is Jerry. Oh no, that was when I was Jerry. Or Geraint. Because he's Jerry in Deadly Harvest, which is
Gary.
arguably his other worst. Yeah, he's Gary, which is arguably his.
Like the Alan Smithy of actor credits.
He's like
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
character actually from Deadly Harvest, because he's like reactionary. He kills his own mother, which nobody ever tells him, and he doesn't know.
But I feel like Deadly Harvest is not a bad movie. It's a hard movie to watch because it's a 1970s
Yeah,
sci-fi
that's
movie,
fair.
and 1970s sci-fi movies are like, oh, did you care about these characters and like the world and you wanted a happy ending? Go fuck yourself with a rusty pole. Everyone dies and the world blows up. Like, fuck you. So like, they're not pleasant movies. They're like not enjoyable. Like we talked about the Planet of the Apes movies. Like, I have the box set. I got through the first two. I cannot bring myself to watch the rest of them because I'm like, I know how these movies go, and they go, life is miserable and we're going to make it worse. And then we're going to give you a character you like. And then we're going to twist the knife and make you cry. Like, I don't need any more reasons to weep myself to sleep at night. Like, I'm not going to do that while eating popcorn. So I feel like that's what Deadly Harvest is. Like, it's good acting. There's like a plot that I recognize. It's interesting. It's like environmental damage horror. Like there's like a moral there. Like there's a lot of things to recommend it, but like, is it a fun movie? Fuck no, it's not a fun movie. No, it's a try not to slit your wrist before the end of it movie. Ta-da movie. Like that's what it is. But like, it's hard to, it's sort of like, what's a Paid Vacation. It's a good movie that's hard to watch, and I appreciate that I watched it, and I'm glad that I saw it, but like, it was not a fun experience. this is just like a monkey poop shit show. Like this is, I don't know. This was a bunch of like, they took a bunch of monkeys and they had them at typewriters, and then the monkeys didn't even write anything. They just pooped all over the typewriters, and then they took the poop paper and they made that into a movie. Like,
I think that's as good a place to end it as any poop movie.
Yeah. The poopy. Like I don't. Like it's I don't know. I got nothing. There's not even any like fun, like ironic reasons to be like, watch this movie. Like, no. I mean, he wears a wife beater, but if you want to see his naked back, then just find a version of Paid Vacation and
which I will eventually upload to YouTube. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So just wait a little while and then squint and know that those pixels are his back. And then you've seen more back of him than you've seen in any other movie.
Yeah.
Like you don't need the wife beater version. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. This was a rough one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Science Advisor.
And everybody dies.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I think you cleared a couple of things up that they didn't know that that's how that worked.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you kind of provisionally translated it into like sensical science.
Yeah, now I understand the angry shape snake. At least that it's like the fourth dimension thing coming into the third dimension. I still don't know why it's alive and why it's mad, but I sort of understand the shape of it. That's something. So, yeah, thank you, Science Advisor, for making this remarkably dumb movie like 8% less stupid. Fully 8%.
Wonder what score it has.
Rotten Tomatoes, it was like 40-something percent, 50-something percent.
What?
It was higher than anticipated, from what I recall. Whoops.
45% tomato meter, which is like the critic score. 35% audience score.
Which, frankly, is about 50% higher than I think it should be. But
sporadically compelling, yet ultimately disappointing.
Sporadically compelling. I don't even know if I would agree with that. I mean, it's like compelling the way a car crash is compelling, where you watch it and you're like, no, I'm gonna figure this out. Like what? I'm gonna do some crime scene investigation. I'm gonna figure out what happened here. And then it turns out that it's like whose line is it anyway? The game's made up and the points don't matter. It just is.
Oh, I guess they were going to do Cube 3 War Against Izon, and it didn't manifest.
And maybe it's one of those things where, like, if we had part 3, then everything in part 2 would make perfect sense. But I feel like
think so.
That's the that's the big problem with doing movies in parts like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't get that, like, I feel like each movie needs to be able to stand on its own. And then just also fit into like your bigger saga, so that if the other parts don't happen, or if I don't see the other parts, I can at least appreciate the part that you gave me. But if you only look at it like, no, this is like chapter 4 in a 15 chapter book, and you only give me chapter 4, like that's not a satisfying movie. That's a satisfying section of a longer movie.
Right.
And like, I think you're probably right. Honestly, I think even if we got a part 3 that was like, no, here's what really happened, I'd be like, I was already so fucking disillusioned by part 2 that I got nothing for it. Like this is not making it better for me. But if they ever made like an actual part 3, I am at least curious to know like what the story was meant to be.
I would watch it to see if they could pull it together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Begrudgingly. Yeah. I don't know how to edit this. This is going to be like a 9-hour long fart into the microphone.
I like it. So until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye. Matt says bye.
This movie was such a dumpster fire.